Ruth chapter 1. And as you're turning there, if you don't have a Bible, that's okay. It'll be on the screen behind me. But we're just going to really step into something that I think God has to say to us today. Is that all right? Come on, is that all right? It's going to be good. And so starting at verse 19, if there's a word that I don't say, feel free to fill in the blank, okay? It starts like this. It says, so the two of them continued on their... Y'all got it. When they came to Bethlehem, the entire town was excited by their arrival. Is it really Naomi? The woman asked. Don't call me Naomi, she responded. Instead, call me Mara. For the Almighty has made life very, say a little bit louder, very, for me. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me home empty. That's a tough, happy Sunday verse, huh? That's not a Cracker Barrel verse. That's we struggling verse. Why call me Naomi when the Lord calls me to suffer and the Almighty has sent such tragedy upon me? So Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by her daughter-in-law Ruth, a young Moabite woman. They arrived in Bethlehem in late spring at the beginning of the barley harvest. And today I want to talk to you about a couple of things, but before I break down that verse, I got a question to start today. Everybody say yes. Where are my amusement park people? How many of y'all love amusement parks today? Let me see, hands up. Yes, okay. Where are my roller coaster people? Okay, let's go. Where am I spending $27,000 on a hot dog, people? Some of y'all are crazy enough. Our family is Puerto Rican. We brought a cooler in the car. And speaking of which, y'all, I got to honor one more person, y'all. I know she's going to hate too. My mama's on the second row. Love you. I also would not be who I am without you in my life today. I love you so much. And it means the world to me that you're here for me today. I love you. All right, anyways, enough of that emotional hogwash. So anyways, we were Puerto Rican, and so we would bring coolers with ice, and they'd be making sandwiches, and because we're not spending $27 on a hot dog. Caused some problems for me later on in life. But long story short, one time a couple years ago, we brought our niece and nephew to Six Flags, and they've never been before. And when we went, I mean, it was amazing. I'm talking about they're getting on all the rides. They're having the time of their life. We're having the time of their life. We're watching them eat all the stuff and do the things. And oh my gosh, that's Batman walking around. And all these amazing things are happening. And then all of a sudden, my nephew leaned over to me and he was like, you see that Superman cup? And I was like, yeah, I see it. He was like, I want it. And I looked at him and I said, really? He said, yeah. And I said, that's good for you? Because the Superman cup was like $87,000. And I'm not spending $87,000 on a cup he's going to forget on a ride somewhere. And he was just, I was like, no, bro, I'm not buying you the cup. And bro, you know, as kids do, homeboy lost his mind. Like his ever-living, loving mind. He was stomping his feet and crying, and he didn't want to get on anymore. You want to get on this ride? Nope. You want to do this? Nope. I mean, the pout was crazy. And it was so funny how it went from such an amazing experience to such a terrible experience at the drop of a dime. Anybody ever been there before? We know how kids are. Oh, my Lord Jesus, help us. You know what I mean? It was just like, and I'm sitting there and like an hour's going by and you can tell everybody's kind of getting frustrated because now it just feels awkward and this weird tension and all this other stuff is happening. And I was looking at him and I turned around and saw these other kids playing around and the roller coasters are going. And I thought, man, it's crazy. The rides haven't changed. The music hasn't changed. The experience hasn't changed, but disappointment has changed him. And I thought, how much or how many times in life have we been in something, excited, enjoying it, loving it, until the right problem showed up? Have you ever been there before? Where life was pretty good until the betrayal. Life was pretty good until the divorce. Life was pretty good until I lost my job. Life was pretty good until this happened. And it's so funny to me because I'm not trying to like say that something really bad in your life is like a kid who's mad at the amusement park. But how many of y'all know that some of us act like a kid mad at the amusement park when life isn't the best? Come on, let's be honest. Raise your hands right now if that's you. That's me. And we can get so frustrated. Let this little thing that came out of nowhere cause us to see something that is exactly the same, but our response to it is different. And I started to think about my nephew and think about us, and I thought, man, sometimes that happens a lot more than we want to admit in the church. Something happens, a diagnosis, a disappointment, an unanswered prayer, and then suddenly life just doesn't look the way it used to look. And it's just interesting, like we can have the best of both worlds and be there, and I'll tell you this, God may be moving and God may be working, but the disappointment is just too big and we don't see what he's really trying to do. Pain has changed the way that we not only see our experience, but we see God. Can I say something about the human heart? One painful moment can color an entire experience. One painful experience, one painful thing can cause you to see something that you once loved and were for and treat it like something that you don't ever want to have any other part with. Have you been there before? We all have. We all have. And what I really want to talk about today is this. This is my title. We've been in this series called I Hate It Here. And we've been talking about that if we're honest, at a gut level experience, past the faith and past what we're believing God to do, because we do believe that God's working, like if we're honest, there are just some seasons of life that at the end of the day, when nobody else is around, we kind of just go, I hate it here. I just don't like it. Like why am I here? Like, God, did I make you mad that you wanted to punish me with this? Like what is going on? And so we've been talking about different seasons. Can we also shout out Elder Nate, by the way, who did a phenomenal job last week. So proud of you, bro. And today we're talking about this. My title is I Hate It Here, Sorrow Seasons. Look at the person next to you and say sorrow seasons. Look at the other person you ignore. Say, I don't know if you heard me. I said sorrow seasons. Sorrow seasons. We all have been in a sorrow season at one point or another in our life. Most of us in this room are in a sorrow season right now. I'm talking about like deep emotional pain that's caused by loss, disappointment, suffering. If you're not careful, sorrow doesn't just affect how you feel about what happened. It begins to color the way that you see yourself, you see the future, and you see God. So I got a question for today. Has something ever happened painfully in your life that has started changing the way that you see everything else? We've all been there. Something has caused us to get apprehensive and guarded and pull back and hesitant and not sure what's next or who we really are or what part we have to play. But I got good news for you today. Everybody say good news. This is my big idea. Sorrow speaks loudly, but God's promises, they speak louder. We should have got a better clap on that. That's okay. I'm here to tell you that there's a loud voice coming from sorrow. But God's promises will always trump sorrow any day of the week. And when we know God's promises, we don't have to be a slave to sorrow. We can begin to fight back. Everybody say fight back. Here's the issue. Sorrow tends to be deep grief caused by loss, but if you're not careful, sorrow doesn't stay a feeling. Sorrow starts to become a narrative. You know what a narrative is? It is everything in my life is being filtered by this one thing. And oftentimes I really want to break down what sorrow is because we kind of use these words interchangeably, grief and suffering and sorrow and pain, but they're not all the same thing, y'all. They're not all the same thing. Pain is the event. This is the rupture, right? This is what happened, the diagnosis, the divorce, the funeral, the rejection, the failure, the loss. Like pain is the thing that happened to you. Suffering is a little bit different. Suffering is what you have experienced because of what happened to you, right? It's living every morning trying to figure out what do I do now that I've been diagnosed and how do I live life the same and having to move out of your house into an apartment because you're walking through the divorce. It's learning how to live in the house where they used to be but they died and now there's a funeral. What do I do? It's trying to rebuild. It's carrying the weight of something happened and I have to deal with this every single day. It's a journey. But sorrow's different, y'all. Sorrow is what pain and suffering start convincing you to believe. Sorrow compounds pain and suffering. It goes, because these things have been happening, this is the theology that you should be carrying. Look at the person next to you and say, I think he's talking to you. I think he's talking to you. It's the voice that starts determining conclusions without ever checking in on what God had to say about the thing. Sorrow has this way where it's so dangerous because pain hurts your life, and then sorrow goes, since you've been hurt and you've been suffering, I'm going to start to rewire the things that you really believe. I'm going to start changing things that you think about people, about God, about yourself. It'll start whispering things like this, and maybe this is just me. I'm not going to put blame on you. It's just me. Like, I don't trust people. I don't trust, like, I will never trust someone again. Or how about this one? People always leave, so never let people close. I don't do vulnerability because it's only a matter of time before they just bounce on me. How about this one? Like, don't get your hopes up. The other shoe is just waiting to drop. Somewhere along the line, it's going to fall apart, bro. So just brace yourself. What about this one? God doesn't really answer prayer. He doesn't really come through. Maybe for pastors, so they're special. Like not for you. What it does is it takes a painful moment and it replays it in your head over and over and over until that becomes something that you think is more true than what God's word said about you. Can I say what's scary about it is this idea that sometimes your pain feels so much more real than what God has said that it feels only natural to attach yourself to that thing versus trust what God has said, because we haven't seen the miracle breakthrough from what God promised us yet. And then we live in this tension of like, will God do it or will I let sorrow continue to narrate my life? Have you ever been there before? In a space where you're just like, I don't know what to do. And the thing about sorrow is that sorrow doesn't come into your house and go, hey, my name is Sorrow. Here's my badge. You and me, let's sit down for coffee. We're about to have a rough 2 years. It doesn't do that. It quietly comes in. It sneaks in with thoughts after the funeral, after the disappointment. It goes, yeah, you're hurting, you're grieving, you're disappointed. It's okay. That's because God isn't real. You deserve that. You're not called. You're not loved. You're not lovable. No one likes you. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And what happens is this. What started as a visitor becomes a resident if we're not careful. Because obviously you're grieving and obviously there's pain, and it is okay to deal with those things and to acknowledge that I'm in a season where I am not okay. And what I get nervous about in church circles is this. Now I'm gonna say it this way, like hear me. We believe that God shows up. We believe that God moves. We believe that God changes bad situations. We believe that God brings light into the darkness. We believe that God is hope. We believe that God is freedom. We believe God is joy. We believe that he's a God who brings breakthrough. We believe that he's a God who makes all things new. We believe he brings beauty from ashes. We believe that God turns the hardest situations around. He restores the most broken relationships. We believe all that about God. And we're gonna stand on it, and we're gonna declare it and decree it and pray it down, and we're gonna have confessions, and we're gonna be like, ooh, Jesus, show up in this situation. But that does not negate honesty about what's really going on in your heart. And what we've taught people is you can't have that faith and have real wounds. And be honest about the real wounds in your life. Faith and honesty need to go hand in hand. Hand in hand. Can I give you an example of this? Ready? Here's the honesty part. God, I'm gonna choke this little kid at this amusement park. I'm gonna unbuckle the seatbelt on Superman and we're not gonna know where he is. That's a joke. You can laugh. But faith goes, your word teaches me that patience is a fruit of your spirit. So God, help me be patient anyway. Faith and honesty. Can I give you another example? Okay. God, I'm heartbroken. I don't know what to do. I'm lost. I'm confused. I don't know which way is up. It doesn't even feel like you're near me right now. But faith goes, but I know your word says that you're near to the brokenhearted. So God, be near to me today. Show me that you're with me, that you haven't left me or forsaken me. Like faith and honesty, you can clap for that, need to go hand in hand. Because with sorrow, what happens is we start to feel some things and we over-justify these things. And then we start doing things and we're still showing up at church and we're still smiling, Elder Nate, and we still work. You make a way. You're doing all that stuff. You're just like, ooh, worship team killed it today. But on the inside, we stopped serving a long time ago. We stopped really worshiping a long time ago. Inside, something has shifted. You're not as trusting as you used to be. You don't smile like you used to smile. You don't have the same joy that you used to laugh. And you don't laugh anymore. You don't dream. You're not open to new experiences. You're just guarded. Keeping everybody at a distance because that feels safer, because you can manage it and you can control it and you don't have to deal with another problem and another headache. And then we dress it up and we go, this is godly wisdom. Show me that in the Bible. Show me where isolation was wisdom in the Bible. And then we go, the Lord has me in a different season right now. No, he don't. Sorrow has you in a broken season right now. Are you okay? How's your heart? What's really going on? It's not a weak faith that struggles. It's a weak faith that won't admit that they're in a hard season, but they have a great trust in God. Is this helping anybody so far? Are you sure? Are you sure? Like the Bible gives us all types of people that have wept. Jesus wept, David wept, Paul, like all these different people. Jeremiah is called the weeping prophet. Like faith is never ignoring your emotions. It's just not being led by your emotions. And some of us have had fear dressed up like faith and been wondering why we're still stuck and we still feel the same way. We're calling it boundaries. Okay, I'm all for boundaries as long as they're biblical, as long as they're healthy, as long as you went through a healthy leader and you tried to bring restoration first. Oh, okay. Come on, somebody, not from a 25-year-old that's the same age as you, who's never lived through anything else trying to tell you how to protect your life. No. Give me somebody who's been through something. Give me somebody who knows how to trust God, how to hear, how to forgive, how to love, how to restore. Give me my pastor who's going to tell me, David, you got 2 weeks and then get over it. Because this is what we do. God doesn't ask us to do things that we like. He asks us to do things that don't feel natural to us. He doesn't ask us to pretend that we're okay, but to invite him into what's really not okay. Is this helping anybody so far? You sure? And so here's the context. This is exactly what we walked into in Ruth chapter 1. You ready? Here's it is. Naomi, she had a husband, 2 baby boys. They grew up. They had marriages, whatever. Husband's dead. 10 years later, both sons are gone, dead. This culture was one that unless you had a man to lead the house, everything you had is gone. You have no way to defend yourself, to like live, to have provisions. And so she sends away her daughter-in-laws. Ruth goes, I'm not going to leave you. I'm going to stay with you. She goes, okay, we're going to go back to my hometown because I heard there's food there. Maybe somebody will take care of us. So they start heading back to the hometown. When they get there, Ruth happens to find a field that belongs to a relative. And in this culture, if you had a relative who was knowing, like close to your family, they could redeem you guys, take care of you, bring you into the fold to make sure that you could survive. She happens to find a field that's a relative's field. And then the story picks up because people are excited that she's there. And then everything starts to come to the light. And this is where I really want to step into this message today. I have 3 anchors. Everybody say 3 anchors. 3 anchors for a sorrow season. 3 anchors for a sorrow season. Number 1, don't let sorrow rename you. I'm going to say it again. Don't let sorrow rename you. Let's go back to verse 20. Look at this. She said, don't call me Naomi. Instead, call me Mara. And look, check this out. For the Almighty has made life for me very bitter. I went away full, and the Lord has brought me home empty. Why call me Naomi when the Lord has caused me to suffer, and the Almighty has set this tragedy amongst me? And at this point of the story, we've shifted from not the event that broke her, but to now who she believes she is as a result of what broke her. You know what Naomi means? Naomi means pleasant. It's sweet. It's nice. And she goes, don't call me sweet. Don't call me good. I am bitter. I'm not happy. I'm not good. My identity is this thing that happened to me. And look what she does. Look what sorrow creeps in and does. She goes, the Lord did this to me. He hurt me like this. Why did he let this happen to me? And sorrow will cause you to believe things about God and yourself that are not even true. Because Scripture doesn't teach that. Scripture teaches we live in a fallen, sinful world, and the pain of this world is often due to the fact that it is unredeemed, and it is not holy, and it is not saved, and it is not in a place where it needs to be. The Bible talks about one day God will renew this thing, but God didn't do that to her. God was looking to restore her, but in her mind, she was so hurt, she said, this is what's happening. I'm bitter because God did this to me. And how many times are we in sorrow seasons, hard things that are valid to be mad about and valid to be hurt by, and we're going, I'm broken. I'm different. No one loves me. I'm unlovable. I'm not kind. No one wants to be around me. Like, I'm rejected. I'm like, if we start saying things that are not true, sorrow wants your name, because if it can take your name, it can take your identity. If it can take your identity, it can take your relation to the Creator. If it can take your relation to the Creator, it can stop you from believing that what God said about your life is actually true, and that God's promises are speaking louder than the sorrow you feel right now and bringing you to a redemptive place. She said, bitterness is who I am. Sorrow wants to become your identity, y'all. It wants you to walk around identifying yourself over who or what you've been through, not who God has called you to be. And maybe you're here and you're like, PD, get out of here, bro. My name's still Steve. I haven't changed my name. What are you talking about? Maybe on the outside, but on the inside, you're calling yourself by something else. Dummy, so stupid. No one likes me. And so now you're not just someone who went through a divorce, you're a divorcee. And now you're not someone who experienced rejection, you're rejected. And now you're not someone who has failed in a moment, you're a failure. Hello, somebody. Can I lovingly remind you of something today? Just because something happened to you does not mean it gets to define you. Look at the person next to you and say, I think he's talking to me now. I love this, Isaiah 43. Let's look what God has to say about this. It says, but now, O Jacob, listen to the Lord. Look how he doesn't say listen to sorrow. Listen to your pain. Listen to your experience. No, listen to me who created you, O Israel. The one who formed you says, do not be afraid, for I have what? Ransomed you. I have called you by name, and you are mine. Who created you gets to define you. Your identity comes from the Creator, not from your preference. And sorrow goes, no, take that bitterness thing because that's who you really are. And God's like, no, I'm calling you by the name that I gave you. I'm calling you healed. I'm calling you forgiven. I'm calling you restored. I'm calling you full of hope. I'm calling you my son, my daughter. I'm calling you full of victory. I'm calling you full of joy. I'm calling you full of gladness. I'm calling you full of promises. Sorrow speaks loud, but God's promises, oh baby, they speak louder. And a lot of times we're in seasons where we keep hearing these things that are not the best things to be listening to and not trusting that God is speaking a better word. But can I tell you today that God is speaking a better word over your life today, whether you feel it or not. Whether you feel it or not. Here's the thing about identity is you don't have to feel the identity to be the identity. That when God speaks over your life, your body and your mind have to catch up to what he said, and your emotions don't get to tell you that it's false. I love this. God speaks to their identity because he was up to something already, but he needed them to focus on him, which leads me to my second point, which is don't miss God in the middle. I'm going to say it again. Don't miss God in the middle is point 2. Look at the person next to you and say, don't miss God in the middle. I love this because, like we said in the context, when they get back there, they don't have food, and Ruth goes and says, I'm going to go find a field to go in. There's probably hundreds of these fields, maybe thousands of these fields, and all of a sudden, just by happenstance, she comes to the field of someone who could redeem her. And the Bible says in chapter 2, verse 3, it says, so Ruth went out to gather grain behind the harvesters, and as it happened, she found herself working in a field that belonged to Boaz. And one of my favorite phrases in the book of Ruth is as it happened. Do you really think it just happened? Do you really think she just woke up one day and like flipped a coin and said rock, paper, scissors, shoot and jumped into this field? Like as it happened, this wasn't a coincidence. This was divine providence. She didn't realize it because they were so broken by what happened to them that the whole time that she was cursing God and calling herself bitter, Jesus was already working and restoring and preparing a future for her in the middle that she never even saw coming. It looked like it as it happened to everybody else, but to God, this was intentional. This was his hand. This was his leading and his guiding. And I'm here to tell some of you today that you're in the middle of one of the hardest seasons of your life. Sorrow has gripped your heart and you're going, God, what is happening? I don't see you working. I don't see you moving. And there is a as it happened coming to your life because God does not quit on his people. God does not give up in situations. You may have given up, but God hasn't taken his hand off of it. You may have walked away because you were done, but God was never done. As it happened. No. God was leading her. This is what Romans 8:28 says, that all things, oh, come on, somebody. All things. We know that all things work together for the good of those that love him and are called according to his purpose. And sorrow will come and go. If you can't see God working, then he's not really working. But faith goes, I trust him even if I don't see him working. What I love about God is that God doesn't feel the need to tell you everything that he's doing in the hard seasons of your life, because then you don't need trust and faith. That's your control tendency that's wrapped up like faith. And we say, P. Kathy, it's discernment. No, you nosy. I'm joking. Like, let God do the work. God is at work in the situation in ways that you will never see until you turn around one day and see, God, I see it now. Isn't life understood that way, where you live it forward and you don't know what the heck is going on from one day to the next, but one day you turn around and go, I can see your hand everywhere. Everywhere. Come on, somebody. Look at this in Psalm 37. David said it this way. He said this, he said, the Lord directs the what? Of the godly. He delights in every detail of their lives. Next verse, though they will never fall, for the Lord grabs them by the hand. I guarantee you the Lord was bringing Ruth right to Boaz's field, and she didn't even realize it. I guarantee you Ruth was walking around and the Lord was like, take that left, girl. Take that right, girl. Go forward. Stop. Get jiggy with it. Turn around and walk it with it. And then he brought her to Boaz's field. What things is God doing in your life that you're not giving him the credit for because you're in the middle and you haven't seen the end result? He is at work. He is moving. He is preparing. He is restoring. The Lord directs the steps of the godly. Where have you concluded that God has stopped working and he's not done yet? Is it your marriage? Is it your children? Is it your future, your career? You're thinking it's over and God's like, I'm the God of do-overs. You're thinking there's no second chance, and God is like, I'm the God of 1,000 second chances. You're thinking there's no way this situation could change, and God's like, do you know who you have a relationship with? There is nothing impossible for our God. Oh, I'm speaking faith in the room today. There is nothing impossible for our God. Nothing is impossible for our God. Don't miss him in the middle. Don't miss him. She was over there complaining, and God was so merciful and so just and so kind that although she was cursing him, he was still preparing a solution for her. And some of us think that we've messed up so much that God would never help us. No, Jesus, friend, has come to bring mercy and grace and redemption and kindness, that even when we don't deserve it, God is preparing a next step for us. That even when we don't feel like we've earned it, God is like, I got you because I love you and I'm committed to you. God may seem quiet, but the best teachers are quiet during tests. I've heard that on social. I'm ready to receive that. Leads me to my last point. Don't let sorrow write the ending. Don't let sorrow write the ending. It's so crazy to me. One of my favorite parts of the story is her and Boaz fall in love, and he redeems the family, the kinsman redeemer, and they fall in love and have a baby together. And Naomi shows up to the house, and she gets to hold this baby named Obed. And Obed becomes the father of Jesse, who becomes the father of King David. And if you know Bible stories, it means that this baby got to be a part of the lineage of Jesus coming to redeem us. Think about that. The genealogy, the bloodline of Jesus, Naomi and Ruth got to be a part of. It's almost interesting because I'm sure that Naomi did not see what God was trying to do in chapter 1, how she saw it in chapter 4. There was a better ending that was coming. That God was like, hey, I didn't cause this stuff to happen in your life, but I love you so much, I will redeem it and I will make it better than you ever thought possible. I will restore it and I'll put you right on the right path. And one day you will stop and go, look what the Lord has done. I couldn't see it before, but I see it now. There is a better future for me. There's a better tomorrow for you. There is a better ending in store for you. Listen, sorrow will say, hey, you're in chapter 1. That's all there is. Chapter 1 for the rest of your life until you die. And God is going, you can believe that if you want to, because sorrow speaks loud, but my promises speak louder. There is more for your next. There's more for your future. You may have not believed God or trusted God for a tomorrow in a long time, but I'm here to tell you, pick back up your faith because God has been working this entire time. He's been moving in this entire time. Come on, Philippians 1:6 still says, and I am certain that God who began a good work within you will continue his work until it is finally finished on the day when Jesus Christ returns. I know it's hard. I know it's painful. I know so many people don't understand how you feel and what happened to you. And I know it was brutal. And I know it wasn't fair. I know it wasn't the best. But we have this promise, Psalm 30, verse 5, it says, weeping may last through the night, but joy comes in the morning. That there's this reality that the story's not over, that God is writing a better future for his children because he loves them. And he loves you. And it can be so hard to admit that I'm struggling with this. But hear me, freedom comes at the place that you're most honest and vulnerable with God. Yeah, I grew up and, felt called to ministry at a young age. And never forget, I heard the Lord speak to me. I grew up here at this church. And like 16, 17, I felt like the Lord sent me to a church in New Haven to work with them for a couple years and take over their youth group. 16-year-old doing that was dumb. I'll tell you that right now. It made no sense. And I was just figuring stuff out, but by God's hand, it grew. And it grew from 5 kids to 60 kids over 3-4 years. And that was a big deal because the church only had 100 members. And so I was just committed to it. 5 years of my life, I was sowing, I was giving, I was showing up, I was preaching. Even though I didn't know how to preach, I was doing all these things. And one day, some changes happened to the church and some scandals happened and all these different things. And leadership was removed and new leadership came, and the new leadership didn't have the vision for what I was doing. And so they began to say, hey, bro, all these different conferences you're doing, no more. All these youth events, no more. All the outreaches you're doing, you're stopping all that stuff because we don't see you as our guy. Oof, never forget that conversation. And they said, bro, you can stay here, but we don't see you as the dude for us. And I left, so hurt and so broken. Never forget it. I came back here because I love Jesus too much to give up on Jesus. I was just so hurt by the church and ministry. And I didn't realize after a couple weeks that sorrow was creeping into my heart. And one day I found myself on the second row coming with my grandmother, and I sat there and I thought to myself, I will never do ministry again. It's not for me. It started lying to me. It started saying stuff like, you're not called for this, bro. You're not good enough. You don't have the goods. You're not it. If you were, that wouldn't have happened like that. And I sat here in this church for 2 years and I didn't serve one lick. I didn't serve on one team. I came in with my grandma and I left as soon as I left because no, I don't want anybody to talk to me. And my pastor knew about what had happened. This man on the front row right here. And one day he was preaching on Moses, and I was sitting there, and he was talking about how Moses had killed the Egyptian and hid his body in the sand and went running. And he came over to me, and I'll never forget it. He looked at me on the front row, and he said, how long are you going to keep running, Moses? And I cry every time I talk about it because my heart broke open. Because the first time God was saying sorrow is not going to get the best of you. That season was a setup, but it is not the end of your story. And I told him, I got to stop running. And I came in, and then Pastor Randall came along behind him. And Randall was like, come to the youth group. And I wanted to have you teach. And God started to re-heal my heart. Started to transform me again. And I started to love ministry again. And I started to say, God, this is your house. And no matter what happened, I'm going to serve it. And it won't be like it was last time. And I have faith that you could do better. And look where I am today because God writes better endings. Like Sarah doesn't get to write your ending. It doesn't get to write your next. God restores and he redeems and he heals. And Jesus comes to make all things new. He comes to bring beauty from ashes. You've given up. You let your faith fall by the wayside, and there's so much more that God has in store for you. There's a dream team that's just waiting for you. There's a small group that just needs your voice. There's something that God has for you. The sorrow is going, that's not for you. And I'm here to tell you today, it is absolutely for you. And I'm here to tell you that even if it's been 4 years and nothing has changed, today can be the day that Jesus, our great kinsman redeemer, comes and restores it all.